England well into this evening. Across the south, we may see some drier spells. And as I say, still very, very windy well into this evening. But the damaging gusts of this morning should be easing by this afternoon. Blustery conditions feeding some showers into Northern Ireland this evening, and still some snow over the higher routes across Scotland. Roads like the A9 not very pleasant at all, with strong winds and snow making for blizzards. Now, as we go through the night, we'll continue to see this storm system, the swirl here, edging away, but still bringing in the winds from the north, packing in plenty of wet weather across eastern parts of England, down across the Midlands. Still a bit of hill snow over northern England too, but many western areas turning drier through the night. And overall, a much drier day for Wales and southwest England. Still windy, but as I say, not the damaging winds of today. And still, that wind will make it feel cold with temperatures in single figures. Please see the Met Office or website for full details on all the warnings.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Her name is synonymous with fashion. Karen Millen, the high street designer whose dresses have been worn by some of the world's most famous women, including the Princess of Wales.
Yes, but in a recent Daily Mail interview conducted by our showbiz juggernaut, as I call her, Steph Tetchy, 63-year-old Karen confessed she isn't immune from worries about her appearance.
Well, this summer, Karen took the plunge with a £35,000 facelift using the very latest surgical techniques. Now, to hear more of her story, we're delighted to be joined by Karen herself and consultant plastic surgeon Dr. Tunj Tiryaki, co-founder of the London Regenerative Institute. So, how did you two get together?
That was a meeting at the Parliament, wasn't it?
It was, actually, yeah, through mutual friends, really.
So you already knew of Tunj and you knew his expertise. How did you come to the decision to kind of go ahead with this? I was reading the Mail article and apparently one day you looked in the mirror, and I've heard this story so many times before,
yeah, I know,
from not least my mum and my nan,
yeah.
And they said they looked in the mirror and thought, goodness me.
I know. I think it's that menopausal thing when suddenly things just change. And, yeah, for me, it was coming out of lockdown almost, where I was probably on the back end of menopause, and I just, like, suddenly looked in the mirror and it was like, oh, my God, what's happened to me?
Because I guess you still, I mean, for me, I'm 35, I still feel like a 20-year-old or even an 18-year-old. Does that change as you get into sort of your...
Unfortunately not, right?
Well, it does change to a certain extent, but, you know, I've always looked after myself, so I've always kept fit and looked after my skin. So, you know, it did come as a bit of a shock. I mean, I know, obviously, ageing happens to us all and we have to embrace that, but there's a certain amount that we have to put up with and then, you know, other things can step in.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello alongside Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Great to have your company this morning, and we've got an action-packed show in store. All of the day's top stories with journalist and broadcaster Candice Holdsworth and the writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley.
The Princess of Wales hosted her annual carol concert at Westminster Abbey last night with a message of love and empathy. Ingrid Seward will join us very shortly to share what happened.
Great to see her back. Yeah. We'll also be heading stateside in what's been another busy week. President Joe Biden, he issued a presidential pardon for his son Hunter. Journalist Nelson Aspen will explain what's been happening.
And later this hour, we'll be speaking to Big Brother finalist Emma Morgan about life outside the house and what's next for her.
Morning, hope you're well. Thank you for your company this morning. I know breakfast have been calling for Christmas tree pictures.
Some amazing Christmas trees out there.
Some very nice trees.
Put mine to shame.
We thought we'd try and be a little bit different and call for some elf on the shelf pictures. Are you aware of what elf on the shelf is?
I've seen it. I don't have kids, but it's you've got these elves, right? And
yes.
then every morning you change positions and the children think that the elves are watching them.
It's very American. So it's an American import that we do here in the UK now. So, for example, a couple of mornings ago, we had elves coming off the light shade.
Wow.
So the kids would come down and say, oh my gosh, the naughty elves have been up to no good. So anyway, every morning throughout Christmas, I think it's absolutely a mammoth task. I don't know how my wife does it, but we want to see your pictures. We've got this one from Dr. Renee Honderkamp, whose daughter Poppy has been loving the elf's escapades in recent mornings. Have we got it? Here we go. Oh, naughty elf. He's been in the cereal.
This morning. See, I wouldn't have the creativity to change the position every morning. You have to do something new every morning. But the idea is, right, that the elves are reporting back to Santa.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Kids have to behave themselves throughout the month of December.
The issue is that I've heard from lots of mums who have been on sort of nights out and they're hungover in the morning. Our makeup artist, as Lisa or Helen, had the same problem. Been on a massive night out, got really boozy, hungover in the morning, and she'd forgot that she had to do Elf in the Shelf. So at 3 in the morning, stumbled downstairs.
Oh, no.
It's, as I said, it's a mammoth task. But get those pictures coming in, gbnews.com/yoursay, or if you're on Twitter, @GBNews, and we'll try and show them throughout the show.
Yeah, and if you at us as well, Ellie Costello TV and Ben Leo.
Ben Leo 444.
Yeah, rolls off the tongue. We'll spot those as well and get them into our producer. But before we do anything else, Sam Francis has all your news headlines.
Ben, Ellie, thank you very much. Good morning to you. Well, this morning we are going to be covering the weather in detail, so let's start there. And trains, planes, bridges, sports, festives and festive events have been disrupted as Storm Dara is bringing a risk-to-life weather alert across parts of the UK. That rare red warning is in place with gusts of more than 90 miles an hour recorded overnight in Wales, leaving over 30,000 homes without power so far. The government sent a mobile phone alert to 3 million people, warning residents to stay indoors, but some claimed they didn't receive that message. Well, passengers have also been describing terrifying descents and harrowing landings in those strong winds, as air traffic restrictions are currently in place at Heathrow and Gatwick Airport. And heavy rain is also expected across much of the UK, with amber warnings for flooding in Wales and disruption forecast throughout most of this weekend. And turning to the rails, where passengers across the UK are facing widespread disruption as well as services struggle to cope with the impact of the storm. Cancellations, delays and suspensions are in place as operators including Cross Country, Great Western Railway and Avanti West Coast are urging passengers to avoid travel unless absolutely essential. Avanti has suspended all services between Holyhead and Chester, while routes around Wolverhampton and across the network are heavily affected. Critics, though, have said this morning that the chaos highlights a lack of preparedness for extreme weather, leaving passengers stranded and frustrated. Prince William is set to meet Donald Trump in Paris today ahead of Notre Dame's Cathedral grand reopening ceremony. The Prince of Wales will discuss the UK-US special relationship with the President-elect and meet outgoing First Lady Jill Biden. Well, the ceremony hosted by the French president features the opening of the cathedral's huge doors, the reawakening of its organ and the first mass there since its restoration. It's also Prince William's first visit to the capital of France since 2017, following his trip after the Brexit referendum. Here, meanwhile, protesters are set to gather outside Downing Street this afternoon, demanding de-escalation between Russia and the West. The Stop the War Coalition and the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament have declared today an emergency day of action, with local events across the UK. Activists are urging world leaders to withdraw missiles from Ukraine and avoid what they call the nuclear brink. Turning to South Korea, where MPs have, in the last half hour or so, started voting on whether to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol, but it's already set to fail. 194 MPs are in the chamber currently, but 106 from Yoon's People Power Party walked out in protest, leaving opposition members chanting traitors and get back in the vote. The impeachment requires 200 votes to pass, but most ruling party MPs are boycotting the session. It follows Mr Yoon's apology for declaring martial law earlier this week, a move that critics have called an attempted coup. The next vote can't happen until Wednesday, deepening South Korea's political crisis. More than 1 million children are being pushed into poverty because of high housing costs, according to a new report today. The Resolution Foundation says 27% of children in poverty would not be below the poverty line if housing were more affordable. Those in private rents are hit hardest. The charity is calling on the government to make tackling housing costs a key focus of its child poverty strategy. And the report highlights the urgent need for action as families struggle to make ends meet. And the countdown to Christmas is on. It begins in earnest this weekend. As the survey shows today, the 7th of December is the UK's most popular day to put up a Christmas tree, with nearly a third of us getting festive today. The second and third Saturdays in December follow as top choices, but some get a head start decorating in November. There's even a rare few who will wait until Christmas Eve to snap up heavily discounted trees. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you for a full roundup and, of course, a recap on all the weather news in around an hour. Now, though, it's over to Ben and Ellie.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Sam, and welcome to Saturday Morning Live. Now, it is awful out there. Been outside?
Oh, it's blowing a gale, I'll tell you.
Blowing a hoolie, as the Irish would say.
Raining cats and dogs.
I almost died going to get your coffee this morning.
Oh,
yeah.
You got me a coffee?
Yes, you know
Oh, you
I
did. Sorry, you did. You treated me to breakfast this morning, didn't you?
You know I did.
Oh, no, sorry, I forgot.
And it was raining, and it was windy, and everything was flying around.
Oh, you're
so
brave.
You're very lucky I got back.
Thank you so much for doing that.
But we haven't even got the worst of it.
No.
We're not in Wales, we're not in southwest England, where there is a rare red weather warning.
Yeah.
Millions of people across the country being urged to stay at home. Gusts as high as 92 miles per hour are being brought by Storm Dara. They're hitting the country, and there's amber weather warnings as well.
Yeah, some really epic pictures and videos doing the rounds online. So the Met Office, I think they said around 3 million people as part of that red weather warning would be affected. And 3 million people actually received a government emergency alert on their phones last night. Did you get one of those?
I did not.
No.
That's, I
Not sure what I think
not
about
in
those
areas.
No.
No. Well, it's quite good if it's obviously going to save someone's life. I imagine that's quite a good thing. There is significant disruption across the country, as you can imagine, with trains and flights being cancelled and roads closed due to debris. The National Grid said a short time ago that 55,000 customers have no power supply across the South West, South Wales and the West Midlands due to the storm.
Well, should we do a tour of the UK now? Because we're joined by our GB News East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis. Will, good morning. Where are you, first of all, and how is the weather treating you?
Well, there's a bit of rain, there's a bit more wind. Wind speeds are around 50 miles per hour here in the Midlands, where there is a yellow weather warning for wind, not anywhere near as high as double the speeds which are in Wales, where there is that red weather warning and there is that danger to life warning. The message for people living in this part of the country, for central England, and for the rest of the country where there are those yellow weather warnings, which is pretty much north to south everywhere, but the west and the southwest in Wales, where there's obviously a much greater concern around the weather. Here, the advice is to stay safe, be prepared to check out what's going on if you're planning on travelling, particularly if you're going to get on a train. You might have delays or cancellations. Get in touch with Network Rail and see what they suggest you should do. In parts of the country, there are also some problems on the road. Not too much of a concern here for where I am in the East Midlands, but for parts of the Midlands that lead into Wales around the M4, there is going to be some cancellations and some problems on the roads there. Overall, you can see people are still out and about running. There's people from the University of Nottingham's rowing team out on the water of the River Trent today here in Nottingham, but there is still that urgency from the Met Office, the national forecaster, to be wary of the weather, and the Environment Agency has around 120 flood alerts in place and even more flood warnings, which are a little bit more serious, encouraging people to be prepared for flooding.
OK, well, thank you for bringing us that update from Nottingham. Doesn't look too bad in Nottingham. People out and about for a run still.
It looks quite sedate, didn't it?
Not too bad. Shall we check in on Belfast and let's head to our Northern Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie.
Northern Ireland very much waking up to structural damage and some trees down around the province. Behind me is the main road to Belfast, and you can see those emergency services trying to clear away those trees so as traffic can flow quite freely again. But it's not on the same scale as Storm Bert was last week. There is flights cancelled and some traffic delays, but those flights are cancelled because of where they're going to rather than the conditions here for taking off.
All right, thank you for that, Doogie. Let's head to the northwest now, where Sophie Reaper is braving the elements.
Well, here in the northwest, what Storm Dara means for us is that we've been forecast heavy rain and wind gusts of around 70 to 80 miles per hour in certain places. And as a result, the Met Office has issued that amber weather alert for wind. That came into place around 1 o'clock this morning and will remain in place now until around 9 o'clock tonight. So the advice today is to avoid travel where you can, stay indoors where possible, and ultimately just stay safe.
Well, let's get a quick update from Scotland now, where our reporter Tony Maguire is.
As Storm Dara continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
OK, so there we have it. Stay safe. The red warnings are in place in the west of England especially. Ellie, though, not you, I assume, Ellie, on your say, said, oh, my gosh, I'm in Taunton in Somerset. We are OK. Stop this frenzy scaremongering. Yeah, I mean, it did look quite sedate from the reporters there, but I think especially in the west of England, it's quite bad.
Yeah, well, let us know if you're in Wales and the southwest. Let us know how it's looking for you. Or maybe send us a video. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what I love? You know, an American... I think we've had one as well. Oh, here we go. Wow. Where's this? This is somewhere in the west of England. Very dangerous being by the sea. Lots of Brits, especially, I live by the coast. We take it for granted how vicious the sea can be.
Yeah, the coast is one of the worst places to be, isn't it, during a storm season?
I was about to say, do you know what I love? You know, in America, especially when they do weather reports and the reporter's, you know, in the middle of a hurricane or something, and his paperwork's going all over his face and he's nearly falling over. I think, was it Will Hollis or maybe Jack Carson did one before. It was very good. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I find hilarious when we do things like this? I mean, as long as they're safe, that's what matters. But when our reporters that we send out there, and I've been there plenty of times as well, you stand there and go, now, everybody stay inside, stay safe, and definitely don't come to the coast. And they're stood like there on the coast, outside.
Yeah.
I know, the irony is not lost on me. Anyway, do stay safe, and I hope all of our very hard-working video journalists are nicely wrapped up, warm inside now with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Let's speak now to journalist and broadcaster Candice Holdsworth and writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley, who are on our panel this morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Candice, this caught my eye this morning. This is in the Times, actually, in fact, it's in many of the papers this morning, talking about reform and the possibility of them winning the next election. According to this, Labour is very nervous. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I find this so fascinating. I think it shows how much the mood has shifted in the country. Things have sort of taken a rightward shift. I mean, you've even seen it with Labour, so they're hoping to capture the conversation on immigration, for instance. I mean, they realise that they need to be a lot tougher than they have been. I mean, look at that big speech Keir Starmer did after the ONS figures came out. Suddenly they started sounding like old Labour. I couldn't believe it. I mean, you could not imagine that 8 years ago. You can see in the US that things have changed completely. One thing I noticed just before Trump was elected, there wasn't the same hysteria that there was maybe 8 years before he was elected. And I wondered why that was. And I thought, actually, after he was elected, I thought it's because things have changed. And maybe the same sort of tides of change are coming here as well.
Well, it's because they also let in around 11 million people through the southern border in the period that Trump got voted out.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what impacts Trump has on where Labour shift to. I mean, back to the question on reform, I don't see it just because it's a numbers game. If you think of the last election versus the election before, Labour pretty much stayed flat. They actually lost a few votes. It was the right-wing split of the Conservatives and Reform, and that split isn't going anywhere. So unless they do a coalition or one of them gives in, I don't see where the numbers are going to come from. I know that they want to do a more... Because Reform got more votes in the last election than Lib Dems, right? But Lib Dems just play a better game of really getting the seats. So I know that Farage was saying he was looking at that. So let's see what happens with that. But I don't see in our system how that will happen.
Yeah. I think it depends, doesn't it, on whether the Tories can get their traditional voters back.
Yes.
Because so many have swung to Reform now.
I don't think they can.
You don't think they can?
Because I think the problem was, it was never about what the Tories were saying, it was their delivery. It was 14 years of saying things that the opposite was then happening. So I think the trust is gone. So if you're going to go into an election where you say, look, guys, trust me this time, honestly, I mean it now, I just don't see how that's going to swing anything.
But... I mean, the Labour Party just keep giving gifts to Nigel Farage and Reform at the moment. I mean, we had the farmers' protest, didn't we, on the 19th of November, which Nigel Farage was there amongst the people in his Greens. I mean, looking very much part of the action.
I know.
And then we also had that speech that you just referenced there, Candice, from Sir Keir Starmer this week. Migration not even mentioned. I mean, a glaring omission. And then straight away, Reform and Nigel Farage come out and say, well, we're the only party with an answer.
Yes.
It seems as though Labour, if they are scared, they're not doing anything about it.
Well, I mean, 5 months in and already their approval ratings have just tanked. And I mean, people have pointed to different things. They've said that there's a lot of chaos internally in Labour. Or is it because actually Labour's policies with the general population aren't that popular? You know, they got into power because of that split on the right in our electoral system, and Labour were massively rewarded by that. You get the Lib Dems who know how to play the system. They've been playing it for years. And I think that it is true in our current system, this split on the right is going to hamper the parties, unless, of course, you see a total collapse in the Labour vote. And Reform is second in a lot of Labour constituencies. And those are the constituencies that tend to be the most conservative on immigration. So you have to see the way that goes in the next election.
The Welsh elections will be really interesting to see, because Reform... I mean, could take many seats.
Yes.
And let's see what, if Elon does give Nigel some cash, maybe that changes the game a little bit.
£100 million war chest through Twitter. Reform, of course, polled ahead of Labour for the first time in that new poll. So Nigel will say they are going after Labour voters, not Tory voters, in the red wall seats. And if this poll is converted into an election, if it was done today, I think the split it would be a hung parliament, but you'd probably see a Labour-Lib Dem coalition as a result of that. So there's still some work to do for them. Shall we move on? Apparently, in the Daily Telegraph, funeral directors are reporting broken bones and back spasms because they're handling overweight bodies.
Yes, it's a charming story. It's sort of, I would love to see a reality show about people, undertakers.
Yes, I would too.
And funeral homes, like the stuff that happens behind the scenes. I mean, the stuff that you don't see. I mean, everything is has to be perfect and lovely, and they have to keep everyone happy. But they probably have their trials and tribulations as well. That we were discussing, we were saying how it is such a generational thing. It tends to be something that's passed down in families, this sort of work. Like, who wants to... Does anyone actually aspire to go into that sort of work, or is it something you're kind of raised with and you know how to do it?
I've spoken to undertakers before, I've interviewed them before, and they find it the most peaceful job.
Really?
Yeah, because, I mean, you deal with grieving families, which I imagine is very difficult, but you are laying somebody to rest. I mean, funerals can be really beautiful.
Yes.
And they say that they're just surrounded by serenity a lot of the time.
Well, not if you're lugging around really heavy corpses, apparently, because the amount of people that are getting hurt... I mean, it's an interesting one. Apparently, the councils are looking to actually charge more. Imagine that, like a fat tax on death.
Really?
If you're overweight. That's apparently they keep pushing for it, but they can't quite get the support for it. But I think it's one of those things, like as you were saying, like you can't, a funeral director can't really ever moan. Like, you're dealing with grieving families, but if you are kind of, carrying really heavy cargo. I mean, at least there has to be some better health and safety things there, because there's stuff like here, you'd think, well, just practically you're just pulling it out and you carry it on the thing, but sometimes they're moving things down flights of stairs.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a beautiful job. As you said, Ellie, it's you're putting someone to rest for the final time, you're making them look nice and peaceful for their family to see. I think it's a great job.
I like the idea of it being a celebration of life.
Yeah. I mean, I think it obviously depends, doesn't it, on the circumstances that someone's died, but I think it's a huge responsibility to carry, isn't it?
Yeah.
bet. We will be back with you in the next hour. So thank you very much, Candice and Lewis, and we're going to speak to you at the top of the next hour. But it's time now for the Great British Giveaway, isn't it?
The Great British... Oh, it did say yesterday in the week, the biggest and the greatest Great British Giveaway. Do you remember that? They've changed the script now, thank God. Your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. It's our biggest ever cash prize, and it could be yours to kickstart your new year. Here's all the details you need.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
Oh, it's shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
What are you waiting for? You really could be our biggest winner so far. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
What would you do with 50 grand, Ellie?
Go on holiday.
Where?
Buy a car. Oh,
World
Maldives.
cruise?
Maldives.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go on a safari. What about you?
Oh, I'd love to go on a safari.
Yeah.
I won a safari once.
Did you go?
To Kenya, no. So this was my very, very old job. I was 18, I worked in sales, and I was the top seller. And they said, you can either have a safari in Kenya or something, was it a couple of grand cash in your bank? And me being very silly and naive, I took the money.
Oh, you are a silly sausage.
Wasted it on a PlayStation and bikes and
And
things
now
like
you
that.
still want to go on safari.
Exactly, I've never been on safari.
That was silly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, do stay with us. Coming up next, Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, hosted her annual Christmas Carol concert at Westminster Abbey last night. We're going to be hearing from a lady who was there. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Let's speak now to Charlie Mullins, who's the founder of Pimlico Plumbers, and entrepreneur Oliver Hodgson. Really good to see you both this morning. Charlie, let's start with you. Has working from home and the culture surrounding working from home killed work experience, do you think?
Undoubtedly. Many companies now are not getting youngsters in for the work experience because of the fact they don't have the staff in. So if they're only in 2 days a week, they're not going to get in the youngsters. They've got no one to train them. So it's killed it totally. And if you think it's bad now, probably 4 or 5 years from now, it'd be absolutely ridiculous. This working from home, I said from day one, is going to kill youngsters' futures, youngsters' careers, and getting people into the workplace. So now the damage is showing through, unfortunately. COVID finished a couple of years ago. The working from home should have stopped and get people back into the workplace.
I mean, Oliver, you have to say it's difficult to see how people in a work-from-home environment can do any sort of on-the-job training at all.
It's really interesting, the work experience piece, actually, because we ran an internship program in the summer here. We had 5 people in the office in person and they really thrived, but we did have a couple of people who joined remotely because of their own reasons, right, and where they were. I think it's a bit more nuanced than that as well, because I've got clients who have completely remote teams. Now, I don't. I have an office and our team are based in here, but our clients who do, they're able to offer work experience opportunities digitally with fantastic technology to people across the world, right? So they have people in their team who are working from all sorts of different continents, which is obviously fantastic. But I agree with Charlie, right? You cannot knock in-person engagement. You cannot knock being in the office.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 10:25, Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live. Thank you for your comments and your pictures of Elf on the Shelf, this American import. If you don't know what it is, it's basically every morning the kids come downstairs during Christmas and the naughty elves are doing something very mischievous, such as hanging off a light. I think we've got one from my house this morning, where my wife's been busy. There you go, the two elves on the sink.
Very good, Rhiannon, very creative.
Are they washing the boys' shoes?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
How does Rhiannon come up with a plan each morning, or does she just make it up as she
I
goes
don't
along?
know. I see her trudging downstairs and I just think, oh, I can't be bothered. Sorry.
She's very good, though. She's creating magic in the
She's
home.
brilliant. She's so creative. I just can't be bothered. I'm good at other jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Such as, not sure just yet, but I'm good at other things.
You're good at this one.
Yeah, well.
That's good.
Arguable.
We've also got an elf on the shelf from a viewer called Peter Knights, whose daughter is a teacher, and this was one that she did for her class yesterday. Oh, how lovely. So this is an elf in a bag of flour, it looks like, doesn't it? And he's maybe been playing snow angels or playing with the flour.
Very cool.
Very
you do
good.
have to be very creative. A new
Yeah.
idea every day.
I don't think I'd be very good at that.
Oh, you would. You're creative.
But I'd imagine the children love the magic, don't they?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, they come down every morning and they say, Daddy, look what the elf's doing. And he's swinging from the chandelier, from the light shade.
If you've got any hot tips on easy ones that you can do share them on gbnews.com/you'll say, because I think other parents and grandparents would really, really appreciate it.
That's a good idea. Swap ideas.
Nice, easy ideas that you can do very quickly.
Very
It's a
good.
one, isn't it?
A couple of quick views on your say, David. You said the Conservatives have slowly moved from centre-right to centre-left. If Reform moves to a centre-right position, then they will have a strong chance of winning. I mean, I think they are centre-right, aren't they, Reform?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you think they're more right than centre-right?
Yeah, about centre-right.
I think that's centre-right.
Talking about Storm Dara, Will Hollis, Doogie, Tony and Sophia all earning their money out and about this morning.
Yes. Stay safe, our reporters.
Yeah.
And Karen, you say you're in North Wales. My 6-foot panel of fencing is beginning to uproot at the bottom of my garden. We're currently keeping an eye on an oak tree that's dangerously close to the house. So, yeah, I guess that's why you have
that is a bit of a worry. I've got the same issue in my garden. Anyway, keep those views coming in, gbnews.com/your say. Now, it's lovely, isn't it, to report some happy news?
Yes.
And this is a lovely story. She is back. Yes, the Princess of Wales hosted her annual carol service at Westminster Abbey last night. It's part of her gradual return to royal duties after cancer treatment.
This year's Together at Christmas event celebrates love and empathy with 1,600 guests invited who have supported others throughout the year.
Yes, in a letter to the attendees, Catherine said, "Love is the light that can shine bright even in our darkest times."
Joining us now is royal biographer and expert Ingrid Seward. Ingrid, good morning. Thank you for joining us. And it's great to see the Princess of Wales back in action at the event that she was long hoping to attend.
I feel that the Princess of Wales is kind of got this iconic aura around her that the former Prince of Wales had. And I think this has got a lot to do with the fact that Kate has suffered so much this year. And if you look back, Diana had suffered too. I mean, it's not as crazy as it sounds. Diana was suffering, so women, because she was so unhappy in her marriage and her life, and let us know about it. So women all over the world that were in similar situations, had this real empathy with hers. And now, because of Catherine's cancer, I think there's a similar feeling. There's so many women out there that can sort of feel along with her because they are in a similar situation or have been in a similar situation, that she becomes completely iconic and people get incredibly excited when they see her.
And she has such a human approach with people as well, doesn't she, Ingrid? I mean, I heard her talking to Paloma Faith last night and talking about the year that she's had, and she said it wasn't the year that I was expecting. It's been really difficult, but we've all had such difficult years, haven't we? And she thanked Paloma for coming because she knows she's a mother, and she was saying, I know how difficult it is to drag yourself away from the children. I mean, it's such a lovely, warm way with people that I think really captures people, and that you can see that at the event last night.
I think you very much could see that, and she she sort of talks to them about her life as well. She's not all buttoned up about her cancer illness. She's very willing to talk about it, and it's interesting that she said that this time last year, when she obviously was doing her carol concert as well, she had no idea what a dreadful time she had in store for herself. She didn't say that, but she said, I had no idea that I was going to have the year that I had. So I think people can really sort of just sympathize with her in a way that is very difficult to do with most people. I think she's got that magic touch, and I think it's going to get more and more, and people are going to get more and more excited about things when they see her.
Yeah, no, she's great. I'm a massive personal fan of the Princess of Wales. Last night, though, Ingrid, the King and Queen weren't present at the service. How is Queen Camilla? Is she still suffering with her... Is it a chest infection she's got?
Well, I think that Queen Camilla's always been prone to chest infections. And what happened is, obviously, it turned into viral pneumonia, which is not uncommon. So that just means that her chest is weakened, even more. So she just has to be very careful. And it does take a time to recover. I've had it myself, actually, years ago. And once you've had it once, it can come back. So I think she's just got to be a bit careful. But that's why she's been, not going out into the cold. And if you've got to stay in one temperature, and then you have a better chance of recovering.
And Ingrid, we've got to talk about the children last night. I mean, they have grown up so much in the past few months. They've all got so tall, haven't they? Prince George, Prince Louis and Princess Charlotte.
Well, yes, I mean, both their parents are incredibly tall, so they're going to be the most gorgeous children. And I think, of course, Louis is still the favourite. And I love the fact that Charlotte had a beautiful ribbon on the back of her hair, which kind of matched the ribbon that Catherine had on her Alexander McQueen coat. Oh. I thought that's a very sweet touch. Yeah. And then I gather that Louis then put a little note on the tree outside, thanking his grandparents for looking after him, obviously when his mum was ill. And he said, they played games with me, of course, which is very important for grandparents to do.
Yeah. Indeed. Ingrid, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
I'm genuinely happy to see Catherine back in action.
So am I. She just does it so well, doesn't she? Thank you, Ingrid Seward. Really good to see you.
I think they're such a great family, Case and Wills and the kids. And I was talking to Cameron Walker a few weeks ago about remember the pictures on the sand dunes was it Norfolk or Suffolk? Yes. Just a beautiful, great family.
Oh, they are such a lovely family. And Prince William is actually heading to Paris, isn't he, to meet President Trump-elect.
Yes.
This morning.
Before Keir Starmer.
He's been busy. Yep, so he's been busy. So that'll be really interesting. We're going to be talking to Catherine Forster, who's in Paris for us. We're going to be talking to her in about half an hour's time, so make sure you do stay tuned for that.
Keep those Elf on the Shelf pictures coming in. And we should clarify, of course, it is the naughty elves getting into those up to mischief, and not the parents, of course. It's the elves having all the fun
mischievous elves
by themselves, of course. So, yeah, keep those pictures coming in, and we will keep showing them.
Yes. Up next, we'll go live across the pond to find out more about this breaking news this morning that Prince William will be meeting President-elect Trump in Paris today. We're also going to be talking to journalist Nelson Aspen about the Hunter Biden pardon. He's leave us latest next.
Time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. As Storm Dara batters into parts of the UK, we have a number of Met Office warnings in place, including a red warning across parts of Wales and southwest England, where gusts of wind could reach 80, perhaps in exposed areas 90 miles an hour. Those kind of winds are dangerous, potentially very damaging. We have a broader amber area covering Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, other parts of Western England and Wales, and many areas are covered by yellow weather warnings for a combination of wind, rain and snow across the hills of Scotland. The heavy rain potentially causing problems across southern parts of Wales, where we also have an amber warning for that rainfall after recent flooding. Further rain here may cause more issues. It's a wet and windy day for many, perhaps a bit brighter in Northern Ireland. Some sunny spells coming through here, but very gusty winds, although they will be easing a little in the west through this afternoon. It's going to feel cold with temperatures in single figures, and particularly cold where that snow comes in over the mountains of Scotland. It stays pretty wet across eastern Scotland, eastern England, well into this evening. Across the south, we may see some drier spells, and as I say, still very, very windy well into this evening, but the damaging gusts of this morning should be easing by this afternoon. Blustery conditions feeding some showers into Northern Ireland this evening, and still some snow over the higher routes across Scotland. Roads like the A9 not very pleasant at all, with strong winds and snow making for blizzards. Now, as we go through the night, we'll continue to see this storm system, the swirl here, edging away, but still bringing in the winds from the north, packing in plenty of wet weather across eastern parts of England, down across the Midlands. Still a bit of hill snow over northern England too, but many western areas turning drier through the night. And overall, a much drier day for Wales and southwest England. Still windy, but as I say, not the damaging winds of today. And still, that wind will make it feel cold with temperatures in single figures. Please see the Met Office website for full details on all the warnings.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 10:36, Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live. Some views coming in on your say. William, good morning to you. You say, the worst thing about this storm in Bridgewater was being scared out of our wits by the phone alert. I thought that as well. I've since disabled this on my phone since the shock of it actually caused my wife a back injury. Oh, no, William, sorry to hear that.
No, William, let us know what it said in that message.
Yeah, I saw screenshots online. I think it was something like, you know, just be careful, stay safe. But yeah, I did mention to you, I said that would probably get my back up as well. Any others? No.
Do keep them going in. We'll share as many as we can.
Trump and France from Jamie. You said, what is it with this bromance between Trump and Macron? They're very touchy and smiley. More to the point, why is our PM not there? That's what I said as well. Even Zelensky will be there for the event. Do you think Starmer's kind of missed a trick there? Because he's not, of course, met President-elect Trump since he won election in November.
Yeah. Well, it has officially been confirmed that President-elect Donald Trump is going to hold a meeting with Prince William ahead of the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral a little bit later on today. Trump has landed in Paris, where he will attend a ceremony as well as meet numerous global heads of state, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Yes. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, quite controversially, earlier this week, and he was awaiting sentencing, Hunter, later this month in 2 federal cases focused on gun ownership and non-payment of taxes.
Well, President Biden has repeatedly said that he wouldn't issue a pardon. So why the change of heart? Well, joining us now to talk through the pardon and much more besides is journalist and author Nelson Aspen. Good to see you as always, Nelson. Should we start, before we get into Hunter Biden, should we start in Paris and that breaking news this morning that Prince William is going to meet President-elect Trump in the city? I'm sure Trump will be really looking forward to that because we know how much he loves the British royal family.
Well, that's exactly right, Ellie, especially the Prince's late grandmother, the Queen. Donald Trump has admitted just how besotted he was in the presence of the late, great Queen Elizabeth II. And so it's a terrific homecoming for Donald Trump in a way. I'm sure he's really looking forward to meeting the Prince and, of course, being around the other world leaders and sort of reveling in his return to the top job. And he will certainly be front and center of all of this. I'm just hoping that the U.S. commentators are finally going to learn to pronounce Notre Dame and instead of saying Notre Dame. It really gets my school French lessons up in a hackle.
Is this quite significant in terms of, as I just said, Nelson, that our own Prime Minister's not met President-elect Trump yet? But he's meeting Prince William. He's met Emmanuel Macron. What do you make of that from your side of the pond? Do you think that the UK is maybe missing a trick when it comes to getting in there with your incoming president?
Yes, I think so. I mean, everybody is going to have to sort of come around. We're going to have President Trump in the office for 4 years, so everybody's going to have to come around, like President Macron, like Justin Trudeau. We've seen everybody sort of come to attention. They've accepted the fact that Mr. Trump will be the president, so everybody's sort of moving in line accordingly. It's going to be fun to watch today.
Nelson, should we talk about President Joe Biden, the biggest story of this week, pardoning his son Hunter Biden after previously saying that he would never do so? What was the change of heart about?
I'm a pretty cool customer, but it is the hypocrisy of this that makes my blood boil. And that is, that's the nature of the game. There's hypocrisy everywhere. But for President Biden to stare the American people in the face for the last year and say repeatedly, insistently, without any waffling, that he would not pardon his son. And then all of a sudden he goes and pardons his son. And I would point out that he didn't just pardon him and save him, from these current problems, but he made the pardons go back 11 years. So it protects any future clashes for Hunter. He's off the hook, as are a lot of alleged business dealings, nefarious actions that could possibly implicate other members of the Biden family, including the president himself. So it was rather sweeping, and president's getting criticism from both sides of the aisle, left and right. His mouthpiece, his press spokesperson, finally came out and told reporters that the president really wrestled with this. And and you can't deny the fact that a father will do anything to protect his son, but it is the hypocrisy of this. And I have my own sort of theory that they believed Kamala Harris would win, and then she could have pardoned Hunter. And then it would have been this sort of very magnanimous, gracious gesture, and everybody would have benefited from that. Even Trump himself floated the idea that if he were to win, which of course he did, that he would consider pardoning Hunter. So the bottom line is Dad saved the day for the prince.
OK, Nelson, tell us about this. Well, it was on your doorstep, actually, in New York, the shooting of the CEO of this healthcare company in the US, I think the biggest healthcare insurance company in the States. What happened there? Have they found the suspect?
No, in fact, the New York Police Department has said that the suspect, they believe, has left New York City and was spotted going into a bus station in Upper Manhattan and is probably now out of the city. They know that he took a bus into the city 10 days before the execution on the streets of Midtown Manhattan, right in the morning commute. There's a lot of controversy about this. How did it happen? Was it a targeted attempt? The police believe it was. And there was a closed-circuit video of him holding had a backpack on, and they found the backpack yesterday abandoned in Central Park. I mean, it's amazing. You can't leave anything on the street without it being taken away. It's amazing that backpack was in the park for 3 days and that nobody found it sooner. But they have found it. There's DNA evidence. They caught a glimpse of his face on camera in a youth hostel, which is right around the corner from me. I walk by it every day. It's terrifying to think that this all happened there. But they have one sort of clear shot of him when he was flirting with a receptionist at the youth hostel. So using facial recognition, they hope to find him soon. But the citywide hunt has now become a nationwide hunt.
Oh, gosh. Well, Nelson, I hope he's found soon. Let's talk about something totally different, shall we? Because there's been a fascination with Baron Trump's accent. And it all started with this viral clip of Baron when he was probably 3 or 4 years old. Let's just remind ourselves of that clip.
I like my suitcase. I have to go to school now.
Yeah, you will have lunch and then you go to school.
Now I'm gonna go.
Yeah, first you will have lunch and then you go to school.
Now you can do reading, writing, and arithmetic.
And I love that because it's a thick Slovenian accent, which shows, and you said it yourself, Nelson, it is a sign that Melania raised him by herself pretty much because he's got that wonderful Slovenian accent. But there's now been this fascination about what he sounds like now, Nelson, and we've had this fantastic clip which has resurfaced from the general election. Let's just have a little listen to that.
Hello, how are you? I'm in the business. It's very nice to see you. It's very nice. I gave him a show. It's very nice. Good to see you. You too, buddy.
And Nelson, he sounds like a really softer version of his father, I thought. What did you make of it?
I think it's brilliant. I mean, here he is. He's 18 years old. He's a young college student, 6'9". I mean, he's a giant, thrust into the international spotlight as he has been. And what's most remarkable about that, aside from having lost the Slovenian accent, is his manners. It is so refreshing in this day and age to see a young person, not only well-dressed, but polite, a gentleman. He's a young gentleman. So if that's part of Melania's influence, then good on her as well. And she came out in a new interview saying that Donald Trump really has Barron to thank for sort of the surge of the youth vote that helped put him back in office, and that it was Barron's ideas about podcasts and streamers and these alternative forms of campaigning for his father to take on away from the more traditional TV, radio, and print outlets, and that Barron really was an integral part of his father's re-election success.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, even Eric Trump I met a few weeks ago, again, for the second time. Very polite, even off camera, very generous with his time, very polite, very courteous, but wants to make sure you're OK and your staff and camera people are OK. So I think he's raised a good bunch of kids there, Donald Trump. Nelson, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We'll catch up again next week. And stay safe on the streets of New York.
Yes, thanks, Nelson. Always good to see you. I love those clips of Barron Trump. I think he was really, really polite. I mean, in that last clip there, if you didn't quite catch it, he says, really lovely to see you again.
Yeah. Eric was saying to me a few weeks back, he said Donald, their father, always said to them, no drink, no drugs, no smoking, and just be a nice person, be polite, be generous.
And no tattoos on that list, apparently.
Oh, really? No tattoos?
Yeah,
he didn't mention it, but I can imagine.
And he'd say it to them every night before bed and make them promise. Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be meeting Big Brother finalist Emma Morgan after this year's series to just come to a close. We're going to get the scoop on what it was like inside the house this year. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
The Daily Mail now, Josh, and pub landlords have to worry about more than the optics when it comes to offensive banter,
Yeah,
it
this
seems.
is a really big story and important. Pub landlords could have to become banter cops to stop themselves being sued by staff offended by comments from customers under workers' rights reform. So, Labour, when they were part of their election process, they were like, we're going to reform workers' rights, and that all sounds good on paper, but there were issues in terms of how might it affect employees and fear from employees costing them more money. One of these things that they're sort of pushing through, though, is that in the Equality Act of 2010, part of the issue was that if you were offended at work or someone said something sexist or racist, something that affected you, the employer had to take some sort of, they had three chances to kind of take action.
Yeah.
Now, the employer should have taken action already. So employees can sue employers. Now, this has a big impact on us because we're comics and we perform in venues. And if some of the bar staff hear a joke that they don't like, then they can sue their employer, potentially, under this legislation.
So it's not punters?
Well, also, it could be like you're at a bar and some bloke is like, oh, I like that top, or whatever. That's not good behaviour. But the point is now that employee could sue their employer.
So, because, I mean, the sort of scenario I was imagining was that a barmaid was being maybe sexually harassed or
That's
something.
what they're focusing in this article, but other articles have gone down the free speech route. Okay. And also venues and universities having lectures. We saw it at, in Edinburgh Fringe Festival and Sadowitz. He had a show cancelled not because of any punters, but because two of the 18-year-olds were working. They were upset by his
There was a
winning.
bar in Brighton, wasn't there? There was a story we covered a few weeks ago. A bar in Brighton threw some people out because...
Oh, yeah, exactly. They had turfs on the...
turfs.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. It's 10:50 and the latest series of Big Brother has just wrapped up. And as always, the housemates managed to cause a stir.
Yeah, that's an understatement. After 5 weeks of drama and twists and turns, 6 housemates were left to battle it out for a £90,000 prize.
Well, our next guest was there to the bitter end, coming third in this year's competition. Let's take a look at what Emma Morgan got up to.
I'm just so grateful to have had the experience. I've made friends for life and you've made an old lady very happy.
And Emma joins us now. Emma Morgan, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us.
See you. Welcome, thanks for having me.
6 weeks you were in there.
Oh, I tell you what, it was a long time.
What goes through your mind? Is it, do you start to go a bit sort of, what do they call it, cabin fever?
Yeah.
Do you go a bit nutty?
Literally, like at times, not that I've ever been in prison, but I kind of likened it to being in jail, particularly when we were having to eat the porridge with water, no sugar, or, you know, that was difficult. And the feeling that you just can't leave. I mean, you can, but, you know, it was, yeah, it was
You
tough.
can, but you won't get your hands on that prize money.
No, exactly.
You made it to the end.
Yeah.
And it's quite a big house, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you feel as though you can get away from housemates if they're annoying you a bit, or does it feel like your hot house with
No,
people you don't like very much?
If you're sort of, you know, if you're not comfortable with a certain conversation or something like that, you can always take yourself and move away. But can you have time to yourself? No. Not really. I mean, even you might think, do you know what, I'll just go and lock myself in the toilet for a few minutes. There's a camera and there's a mic in there, so you can't escape that. And then you're obviously wearing a mic, so there is that little feeling of, you know, I could just do with having 5 minutes to myself, but you can't really get it.
What was your highlight then? I want your best moment, your worst moment, and yeah, the thing that you'll take away from it, the life lesson, if any. Did you learn anything about yourself?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think my best moment was actually walking into the house for the first time.
Oh.
Because I've watched it since it began. I haven't watched every season. I'm not a super fan, but it's something, you know, that's been around for such a long time. So to walk into that house, that iconic house, even though it was slightly different, was just really overwhelming, but in a good way. My worst moment in the house was probably when I was evil head of house and I had to nominate a lot of the housemates, particularly when Dean went through me, because Dean and I got quite close towards the end. So that was kind of sad that I know he's left and it's because of me, because of a decision I made. But you've got to do that. So that's part of the game.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to have to make decisions that are not going to sit well with you, but you've got to do it, haven't you? It's all part and parcel. Yeah.
So what did you make of the winner, Ali Bromley? Did you get along well with her?
Yeah, really well. Me and Ali had some quite good chats in the house. We bonded quite a bit. She'd lost her brother quite recently. I lost my mum quite a long time ago now, but there's no time limit, is there, on grief? So we kind of had a little chats about that. We haven't met up or anything since leaving the house, but I'm sure we will do.
Oh, I'm going to ask you about that, because there was a divide in the house, wasn't there? I've only got 20 seconds left, but there was a divide in the house, wasn't there? You've met up with one side of the house, but not the other side yet. But is that still on the cards, do you think?
I hope so, yeah, because I liked every single person in that house. Despite a few whispers on the internet, you know, like, do you not like this? I liked everybody in the house, never had a bad word with anybody, so... Well,
you're a star. You did so well.
Yeah, you did.
And it was great fun watching you, and thank you for coming in this morning to share your experience and your story with us. You're great.
Thanks, Emma. Lots more to come on Saturday Morning Live. Don't go anywhere.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Dara continues to bring some very disruptive and perhaps damaging weather in places as we head through the rest of Saturday and into the start of Sunday. It continues to sink its way south and eastwards through the rest of the day, but it's on this western flank that we'll see those strongest winds with a real squeeze in those isobars through the rest of today. We've got amber, wind and rain warnings in force across western areas. We could see gusts here of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 miles an hour at the coast, and also some heavy rain too across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales, so we could see some localised flooding in places. Temperatures will be round about average for the time of year, but with that very brisk northerly wind, it'll be feeling much colder than those temperatures are stating. As we then go into Saturday evening, the outbreaks of heavy rain do continue. Across parts of Scotland, we could see this rain turning to sleet and snow, particularly over any high ground, and across eastern areas it could be quite persistent in places. Across Northern Ireland, a little bit brighter to end the day, some clear spells overnight, although still some blustery showers pushing in from the north. Across much of England and Wales, though, a cloudy end to the day, plenty of outbreaks of rain around, particularly across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales too. Through the rest of Saturday evening, continuing to see those strong winds across western areas, although them just down a touch compared to what we saw on Saturday morning, but continuing to see outbreaks of heavy rain across eastern parts of England, so adding to some localised flooding in places here. Temperatures overnight will be a little bit above average, staying above zero with those brisk northerly winds, but it will be feeling really chilly to start the day on Sunday morning, particularly where you're exposed to that northerly wind. A damp start to the day across eastern parts of England, outbreaks of rain continuing to push their way south and eastwards, although perhaps becoming persistent at times. But across western parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, those winds really starting to ease down, and we might even see some sunshine through the afternoon, so feeling a bit more pleasant here. Temperatures will still be around average for the time of year, but it will be feeling really quite chilly under that cloud in that northerly wind.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect And then you throw me into the mix, and trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got, in my opinion? The best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello alongside Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. We've got an action-packed second hour with all the day's top stories with journalist and broadcaster Candice Holdsworth and the writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley.
Prince William and Donald Trump are set to attend the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral 5 years after a fire ravaged parts of the historic building.
And the godfather of hospitality, Roger Walton, MBE, he'll be with us live in the studio to talk about his latest culinary travels, and he'll also be sharing his tips and tricks for the perfect Christmas turkey.
As we get closer to the big day, we'll be chatting to one couple who've become experts at navigating different Christmas traditions in their family. We'll chat to them to get some tips on how to keep everyone happy this Christmas.
And tomorrow is the final of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. We'll be speaking to TV and radio presenter Pat Sharp about his time on the show and who he thinks will be crowned King or Queen of the Jungle tomorrow. We'll also get the rest of your Showbiz selection with journalist Steph Tetchy.
So do get in touch with your Christmas traditions. Are you like Ben Leo? And is your tradition just arguing with your entire family?
Oh, no, I was only joking.
No, he was only joking.
We love Christmas. I love the family being around, the fridge being stocked, lots of food, playing games, Monopoly. Although we don't tend to finish Monopoly these days, there's always some controversy going on.
There is usually a row to come about Monopoly. Are you a family that opens all of the presents at once, or are you a one-by-one family? We're a one-by-one family, but I feel like that's a bit of a rarity.
You sit in a circle and do one each?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that now because Rianne's family did it.
I think it's really nice. But let us know. Apparently not many people actually do it that way. gbnews.com/yoursay.
I tell you what we also like doing is visiting the houses that bother to do it. They put Christmas lights all on the house. They have like snowmen and reindeer and so on in lights. Massive light displays, very extravagant.
Really nice.
We like going for nice walks with the kids and checking out all the lights. I think some of them do it for charity as well, yeah. Good fun.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, get in touch with all of your Christmas traditions. But before we do anything else, let's get the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. It's just after 11 o'clock. Let's start this hour with an update on the weather situation. Millions of people across the country are being urged to stay indoors as Storm Dara batters the UK, with thousands left without power now and widespread transport disruption. A rare risk-to-life red warning for wind has been issued, covering parts of Wales and southwest England, with gusts of up to 90 miles an hour already being recorded along the west coast. Authorities are advising people to avoid travel, with bridges closed and some train services suspended due to fallen trees blocking lines. Over 30,000 homes have so far been left without power, and despite crews working to restore supplies, no estimated times have been given to get power back up and running. Well, our reporter Sophie Reaper is in the northwest for us today, and she says there are big concerns for the amber rain alert there, which is spreading through the county.
Well, here in the northwest, what Storm Dara means for us is that we've been forecast heavy rain and wind gusts of around 70 to 80 miles per hour in certain places. And as a result, the Met Office has issued that amber weather alert for wind. That came into place around 1 o'clock this morning and will remain in place now until around 9 o'clock tonight. So the advice today is to avoid travel where you can, stay indoors where possible, and ultimately just stay safe.
Well, the storm's strongest winds are expected to ease later today, but passengers at Heathrow and Gatwick airports have described this morning terrifying descents and harrowing landings as air traffic restrictions remain in place. Our Scotland reporter Tony Maguire is at Glasgow Airport for us with this latest update.
As Storm Dara continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
Well, let's just turn from that weather news to some difficult, challenging breaking news from the West Midlands this morning. We've heard that a 4-year-old boy has died after being hit by a bus there. Police say the accident happened on Tipton High Street just before 5 o'clock on Friday evening, adding that the driver is assisting with their inquiries. Officers are appealing now for any dashcam footage to help piece together just what happened. West Midlands Police say their thoughts are with that young boy's family. Prince William is set to meet Donald Trump in Paris today ahead of Notre Dame Cathedral's grand reopening ceremony. The Prince of Wales will discuss the UK-US special relationship with the President-elect and meet the outgoing First Lady Jill Biden. Well, the ceremony, being hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron, features the opening of the cathedral's huge doors, the reawakening of its organ and the first mass there since its restoration. It's also William's first trip to Paris since 2017. Here, meanwhile, protesters will gather outside Downing Street this afternoon, demanding de-escalation between Russia and the West. The Stop the War Coalition and Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament have declared today an emergency day of action, with local events across the UK. Activists are urging world leaders to withdraw missiles from Ukraine and avoid what they call the nuclear brink. MPs in South Korea have started voting on whether to impeach the president, Yoon Suk-yeol, but it's already set to fail. 194 MPs are in the chamber, but 106 from Yoon's People Power Party walked out in protest in the last hour or so, leaving opposition members chanting traitors and get back in to vote. The impeachment requires 200 voters to pass, but most ruling party MPs are boycotting the session. Well, it follows Mr Yoon's apology for declaring martial law this week, a move that critics have called an attempted coup. Here, meanwhile, more than 1 million children are being pushed into poverty because of high housing costs. That's according to a new report out today. The Resolution Foundation says 27% of children in poverty wouldn't be below the poverty line if housing were more affordable, and those in private rentals are hit hardest. The charity is calling on the government to make tackling housing costs a key focus of its child poverty strategy. The report highlights the urgent need for action as families are struggling to make ends meet this festive season. And the countdown to Christmas begins in earnest this weekend, with a survey showing today, the 7th of December, is indeed the UK's most popular day to put up a Christmas tree, with nearly a third of households getting festive. The second and third Saturdays in December follow as top choices, but some get a head start decorating in November. Ben and Ellie got a head start decorating last year, would you believe? Let's hand straight back to them now. Those are the latest GB News headlines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Sam Francis just revealed, as he did last week on the show, but it's the first time I've heard it, that he didn't take his Christmas tree down, Sam, until August last year.
It's a disgrace, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Disgrace. And he hasn't even put up a tree this year. Will you be putting up a tree or no? He's not on a mic. He's not on a mic, so he can't tell you.
He's shaking his head. No
not
tree.
even a bother. Oh, dear.
Is your tree up?
Yes, it's been up since 20-something of November.
Oh.
I think it just makes the house so serene. I love the golden twinkly lights. I'd have it all year if I could.
Yeah, it's
do a
magic.
San Francis, have it up till August. Find it very calming, so I'll do it as soon as I can.
Yeah.
If you've got children, well, I don't, but...
Oh, the kids love it. It's magic.
Yeah,
it just
they do.
instills something in the house, you know, it's like a fairy tale. The lights are on, especially in the morning when it's dark and you come down. And
When do you put yours on?
Ours went up last weekend.
Oh, I think that's the traditional one, yeah. The first first week.
I thought it was a little bit too early, but I wasn't going to cause a scene.
Especially with children.
No.
Well, let us know when your Christmas tree went up, gbnews.com/yoursave. Let's start with our top story today.
Yes, let's head to Paris, where today there will be a ceremonial reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral 5 years after that devastating fire which caused the iconic spire to collapse.
Oh, I'll never forget those images that were coming out of Paris 5 years ago. Well, the President-elect Donald Trump is flying in to attend the ceremony, as is Prince William. And it's been revealed this morning that the Prince of Wales will have a meeting with US President-elect Trump today.
Interesting. French President Emmanuel Macron will be hoping that the occasion will distract from the political turmoil in the country. That was after Prime Minister Michel Barnier, remember him? He was ousted in a no-confidence vote earlier in the week.
Yes, all eyes on France this weekend. Let's go live now to Paris and our GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster, who is there for us. And we're matching in red this morning, Catherine. Not that you can see down the line, but you look wonderful. I hope Paris is treating you well. Should we start with this news that President Trump-elect and Prince William will be meeting? It's the Prince of Wales exercising his soft power with this meeting today, I'm sure.
Yes, bonjour de Paris, Ben and Ellie. It's pretty chilly here, but what a day in Paris. Notre Dame, we were there outside a little bit earlier. The whole area now completely locked down. Security is through the roof, as you would imagine. So we've now moved to just along the road from the Elysee Palace. That's the residence of the French President Emmanuel Macron, where he will be meeting later with President-elect Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. Our own Prince William here, of course, as well. As you mentioned, the soft power of the British royal family is really a huge asset to this country, something that we're able to use to our benefit at times like this. So he will be meeting President-elect Trump this afternoon. He will also be meeting with the First Lady Jill Biden. She's here, but not the current president. Now, Prince William has met Trump before, back when he came for that state visit back in 2019, where he famously walked in front of the Queen against protocol, but really did look like the cat who had got the cream, because Trump, as we know, is a massive admirer of the late Queen and the British royal family, and a big fan of Britain. On the whole, let's see if that helps us avoid tariffs when he comes in. But it's a big diplomatic moment for President Macron, because at the Elysee Palace in just a couple of hours, he's going to be meeting first with Trump and then with Zelensky. Of course, Trump says he's going to end the war in Ukraine in one day. Zelensky unlikely to be happy with what Trump may have in mind, but even he is now talking about the fact that there will have to be negotiations. And a huge moment with this cathedral, this building that was built from the 12th to the 14th centuries, finally restored, opening today, a whole weekend of events, 1,500 invited guests, and then masses for the public beginning from tomorrow night. They're all booked for the next week or so, but 12 million people a year are used to come to the Notre Dame, so it will be wonderful for Paris to showcase this. But, of course, absolute political chaos here, because the government has collapsed. France has an acting prime minister, but they don't know how they're going to get out of the mess that they find themselves in. And despite all the show that Macron will put on today, he's really pretty unpopular here, and the French economy not in a good state at all.
OK, Catherine, thank you. The place to be, Paris, it seems, at the moment. Thank you, Catherine. We'll catch up in the next hour or so.
Yeah.
I just wonder if the Prime Minister has missed a trick by not... I know he's spoken to Donald Trump since he won the election, but he's not met him. Justin Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago for lunch. Macron is now meeting him. Prince William's meeting him. I don't know.
Has he missed a trick not being in Paris? Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
OK, let's now catch up again with broadcaster and journalist Candice Holdsworth and writer and podcaster Lewis Oakley, who are back on the sofa to go through all of the day's best stories. Welcome back to you both. Lewis, should we talk about this New York manhunt for the the masked gunman who shot the CEO of United Healthcare. Have you seen the... I mean, it's quite graphic. I don't think we can show it, but videos doing the rounds online.
The video, yeah. This is just... It's horrific, but it's also very odd. I mean, we have the footage of the actual crime being committed, which is just, hello, living in 2024. Like, those kind of things are out there for anyone to discover. But they can't find him. And this happened on Wednesday, and it's in New York. You just kind of think with all of the CCTV, and they've got little footage, bits of footage here and there, they thought that he used their equivalent of sort of a lime bike to get away. Now they're not quite so sure. Obviously, there's a question about New York's crime rate being high. Was it a random incident? Doesn't seem very likely. And then if it was intentional, then who would be behind it? And so it's a really strange story that they can't find it. But then at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know how much you guys listen to true crime podcasts and things like that. Like, sometimes you just have to... These things happen and they never find out who did it, so...
It is remarkable, though, as we were just hearing from Nelson Aspin there, that they've got this rucksack now with DNA evidence. There's thoughts that this gunman may be on may have got a coach to Atlanta. How, in 2024, as you say, with a city covered in CCTV, how are we 4 days into this manhunt? It's absolutely bizarre, isn't it, Candice?
It is. Let's hope with the CCTV images which have come out, which had quite a clear picture of his face, someone will come forward and say that they know who he is. I mean, it's such an appalling crime. I mean, the man who was killed, he's a father. He's now leaving a family bereaved just before Christmas. Also, the reactions to it, some people have said that it could possibly have been targeted because he's a healthcare CEO, and there are many people in America who are unhappy with the healthcare system, and there's been a lot of talk on social media, very ugly language about people who head up these healthcare companies and don't give coverage to people who are ill.
I saw some of that. Yeah, there was lots of speculation that the reason for the killing may have been because, of course, people were denied at some point insurance payouts and so on. I mean, who knows? Nobody knows. But I did see. I thought it was quite bizarre. Some people were even cheering it on.
It's awful.
It was very strange. Shall we get stuck into this one from The Telegraph, Candice? Elizabeth Day brings tradition to shuddering halt as all-male Bastion starters exciting new chapter. So this is a men's club that opens the door to women for the first time in how long? 120 years.
Yes, I mean, this is just like the upending of tradition. So this is a club in Dorset, the Dorset Men's Club. So they've decided to start opening their doors for women for the first time. I think this is a bit of a trend now. You've seen it with the Garrett Club here as well, voting to let women in. There's a lot of these places that feel that just having these sort of places that are just for one gender only is a bit old-fashioned. But I think I kind of go against the times in that I'm perfectly happy for men's and women's clubs to exist and for mixed clubs to exist as well, whatever you like. Sometimes it's nice for couples to socialise together. I think one of the problems can be if it's to do with your place of work and deals are being done. You know, for instance, in law, you know, a lot of female barristers and solicitors said, like, I was missing out on opportunities because I couldn't join these exclusive men's clubs.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, it's always a bit contentious when they open it up. And I do think, like Candice says, it is about the context of it. But I do think we are in a world right now where men are struggling, right? And actually having places where they can go that are all men, where they can talk to men. I mean, loneliness epidemic in men is huge. So actually having places they can go is really important and find support and talk about, you know, this is a changing world. I'm a young dad. I just wrote an article actually about the pressures on young dads and how I don't really have any dad friends, and I would love to go to a little place where it's like, oh, we're all just dads and chatting and, you know, sharing stories and little tips and tricks. And, you know, I do think it can be quite lonely to be a man. So having places where you can go for being a man, being a woman, being a young couple, I don't know why we have to say everything has to be inclusive. I think it's fine to say, well, we've got another version of this somewhere else where you are able to join. But I think it is important, especially with the suicide and the loneliness figures for men, to have places where they can go to try and find a sense of community and help each other.
No.
Let's have a very quick look at Victorian names making a comeback. This is in the Daily Mail this morning. Candice, what do you make of it? I know you're excited about this one.
Yes, it's Lewis's story.
So it's bad news for Simons, Garys and Craigs. Those names are in decline. But if you're a Bertie, Arthur or Oliver, now is your time.
Arthur, hello.
Those are coming back. Iris as well for a girl. We were talking before about, obviously, so we've got kids and how we came up with the names, and we really struggled with finding a girl name. And I was saying that if we were to have another one, which we won't, I would use ChatGPT now to help me find the name.
Would you?
Yeah, because
So what would you type in to find out?
So with my when we were doing my daughter, I wanted a girl name that was kind of feminine, but still had a bit of a backbone in it, but also one that she could shorten if she didn't like the name we'd picked.
Oh, right.
And then I would sort of go through things like that, and I'd maybe bring in the heritage, like I'm part Jamaican. Is there anything from there? And just getting those kind of things. And I feel like that's so much better than going through a baby book of names now. I think baby books of names are going to be ChatGPT all the way. I use it for everything.
It's got to be meaningful. All names have got to be meaningful. That's what's important to me. And we've sort of ended up with 3 very Old Testament names, and people are kind of like,
your boys' names.
Yes, yeah. We love boys' names. We agreed on everything. I think if we'd had girls, there would have been a problem, because I like the really classic names for girls, and my husband likes super modern. But I just see it as my generation, the names of my generation, Jessica and Samantha. So I wouldn't think of giving it to my kids.
You'll probably find in maybe 40, 50 years that the names we give to children now, which we think are quite modern or a bit of a twist, we'll be looking back on them, with maybe concern or...
Definitely.
The same we do with some names now. I won't name any, so I don't offend anybody.
Candice Lewis, we're out of time, I'm afraid, but so good to see you both this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Time now for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to become our biggest ever winner with an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash.
Yeah, it's an amazing sum of money, and it could all be yours and make your new year even better. Here's how.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
What are you waiting for? You really could be our biggest winner so far. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Now, do stay with us. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah.
We're going to be speaking to the godfather of hospitality, Robert Walton, MBE. He's joining us in the studio to talk about all of his latest culinary adventures. He goes all around the world.
He's been to Singapore in recent weeks.
Yep.
Big competition.
Yep, and he hosted a huge big event in London on Monday, so we're going to get the scoop of all of that, and he's going to be giving us his top tips on how to create the perfect Christmas turkey. Stay tuned. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What do you think?
Morning. I think we have failed young drivers as a society, and we need to train them better and train them earlier. I think that the idea of stopping them carrying passengers for 6 months is a good idea, because you've got peer pressure within a car. So yes, but I think graduated licenses are really difficult. You've got what we call the 3 E's, which is education, educating kids to drive earlier, and engineering, which is making roads better and safer, and then comes enforcement at the end of it. So I think we're failing in these 2 first ones, the education and the enforcement. I put my kids, all 3 of them, through a thing called Young Driver, which allows under 17s to drive on private land with ADI instructors and learn the craft of driving and all the below the dashboard stuff and hazard awareness long before they try and do this very compressed period of time to learn about driving. I think we're failing them. So I want to see it in schools, and I want to see them being taught much, much earlier.
Nobody's actually pointing the finger of blame, I think, at the young driver, but maybe young drivers don't understand how different it is. You feel you can drive, you've passed your test, and then a load of your friends get in the back, and suddenly the mood is different, the pressure on you as a driver is very different, showing off, just larking around and having a great time. Aisha, how do you feel about the fact that clearly young drivers do need to be protected almost from themselves, don't they?
Well, I do agree with some of what Quentin has just said, especially about starting early and especially about getting young people used to the dangers of being on the road.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, I'm so excited for our next guest. He is known as the godfather of hospitality, and he's had a really busy few weeks all around the world in his role as president of the Restaurant Association.
Yes, Robert Walton has been jet-setting in recent weeks in Singapore for the YYY Awards and then back to London to host the inaugural Restaurant Association Awards.
Yep, and after many years in the industry, Robert also knows a thing or two about how to create the perfect Christmas, and it's all in the preparation. So we're going to be asking him about that as well. I'm delighted to say that the godfather of hospitality, Robert Walton, MBE, joins us now on the sofa.
Morning, Robert.
Robert,
Good
so
morning.
good to see you. And what a busy few weeks you have had. Should we start with the YYY Awards? Because I think it's just wonderful who you celebrated at those awards.
So, the YYY, young chef, young waiter, young mixologist. And it's a competition that's created around the world, so people from all around the world can apply. So this year we had 9 countries, from India to the Caribbean, from the USA to Scotland and England. And so we had 27 young professionals. The average age was about 24.
Wow.
All coming to Singapore. So we flew everyone to Singapore. We create what I call the Olympic Village. We create a little village for them, and it's in a very cool spot with great bars. And then we have the competition. And this year, I can now announce, I was here just a few weeks ago before we had the competition, that the USA won, which was absolutely incredible. Thailand was second. And gorgeous Wales was third.
Yes. Well done, Wales.
Well done, Wales.
Third place, that's fantastic. Robert, do you know what I love about those awards is that a young waiter is celebrated, because I do think service, especially when you're going out for a nice meal, service is so important. And actually, you can have a really lovely meal, but if the service is horrible, then the evening's ruined,
isn't it? Now.
It is so key.
So I think, I've been doing this a long time, and I think that we now expect to have a good meal. There's no reason why you shouldn't have good food. There is absolutely no reason. And if that is a problem, you need to say something. The key now is the service, because there is no reason why you don't have good service. And good service is not that difficult. Smile, to start with. It really isn't that difficult. It's called hospitable. We call the industry, or the sector we look after, is the hospitality industry, which is all about being hospitable. So it can't be that difficult, I say.
I went somewhere recently where the lunch wasn't that good. It was OK. It was, nothing to shout about, but the service was great. The waiter was very charming. He talked a lot. We got on very well, and it made the occasion nice.
That's right.
So it makes a difference. Great
well, it's an experience. They've got to create an experience for you. That's what everyone wants now, and there's no reason. You're paying, quite good money now to go out for a meal from whatever.
Yeah.
And so it really is very important.
And then you flew back to London for the inaugural Restaurant Association Awards.
1 week later, then at the Savoy on Monday, just gone, we held the Restaurant Association Awards. So we've always held the Restaurant Association Gala. We decided to add on, why not just make more work, decided to add on the awards this year, and that was absolutely fantastic. And we had some great names and some great great venues that won awards, and so that was really important. So I'm going to expand that, I think, next year. Why not? I need a bit more work.
Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful. Now, something that people might not know about you, Robert, is you are married to Donna Ida.
I am married to Donna
who is a friend
Ida.
of the programme. She designs jeans, doesn't she? She's absolutely fabulous. I mean, you two are an absolute power couple. How do you juggle it between you? I mean, obviously, you're both creatives.
Well, I do what I'm told.
Is that the secret?
I think it's the secret of most marriages.
Good advice, yeah.
And who does the cooking and the hosting in your house, then, out of the two of you?
Well, that's a really good question. My wife is a very good cook.
Is she?
So she's very good. But
you can do it all, Donna.
Yeah. Well, there we go. And so, but she loves baking. And I like doing the main dish, if you like. Not that baking isn't the main dish, but she loves baking. Donnie will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'll suddenly come down and there's rock cakes and flapjack and breads and everything. I know it's insane, isn't it?
Brilliant.
And then I then come down and I'll start looking at... the other day I did a wonderful beef bourguignon. But a beef bourguignon is going to take a long time.
Can we come to your house,
please? You can come to our house, yes. I'm surprised Donna didn't invite you.
What's your plans for Christmas, then? Who's doing the cooking? And also, I think you have some tips, don't you, about Christmas tables and prep and so on?
I think the thing about every meal is preparation. The thing about everything that we do, certainly in my world of cooking, I'm a chef, you know, that is the basis of everything I do. And so it's mise en place, preparation. We've got to create the preparation, and you've got to know, you've got to think in your head what it is you're going to do and plan it. Planning is really important, because what you don't want to be doing is be standing in the kitchen when everyone's arriving and it's like up to your neck in pots and pans and everything else. So you want to prep, and you can prep things in lots of different ways. You can refresh your vegetables. You can cook your vegetables and refresh them in ice water, and then you can leave them, and then you can put them in the microwave or put them back in the oven and just, you know, get things ready. The turkey, you know, you think about the turkey. Don't take it out of the freezer like in the morning and you're going to start, then put it in the microwave. I mean, you know, just think about what you're going to do. In fact, take the turkey shouldn't be cold. I'm not saying leave it out overnight or anything, but, you know, the turkey, the colder it is, the longer it's going to take to cook. If you stuff a turkey, don't stuff it and think it's just going to cook the same time. And then how do you keep the turkey meat succulent and juicy and moist? Well, that's always a tricky one, because turkey itself is dry. So, you know, there's ways of turning it upside down or putting butter over the top.
And just finally, because we are stretched for time. No, it's great. But
so good.
Give us some,
making notes.
Yeah, indeed. Have you got any top tips for hosting? How do you become the hostess with the mostess this Christmas?
Well, the most important thing, I always call it the art of table planning. That, to me, is one of the most important things, is who is going to sit next to who.
Yes.
Because you go and put the wrong person next to the wrong person.
Could erupt.
Or the ones that like a little bevy or something, and they're all at the end of the table. And it depends how many people you got. But I always have a table plan. Always have a table plan. Whether I've got 4 people, whether I've got 14 people, or whether I've got 300 people we did at the Savoy. It's really important. And then make the table look pretty, but don't have flowers that are like here, so you can't see through, you know. So the first thing, I'll rip all the decorations apart. Keep everything low, and if you have candles, don't put them next to dry flowers. And, you know, it's just sort of common sense tips, really, most of the time.
So be prepared and be organised. I think those are the top tips we can take away. Robert, so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you, Robert.
And I've made lots of tips.
Lots of tips.
Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Is that the slogan?
Oh, wow, good tip.
Indeed. And as I said, it's so great that young waiters and waitresses and mixologists are being recognised. I said to someone yesterday, actually, the true litmus test of a person is how they treat hospitality staff, waiters and waitresses. It is an interesting test of character, to say
Don't
the
they
least.
say it's how you treat a waiter and how you treat a cleaner? Is that the way?
Yeah, all of them.
As a testament to your character.
Yeah.
There you are.
Indeed.
Lots more to come on the show today, but first, let's get the news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. It's just after 11:30. Let's take a look at the latest weather news, as millions are still being urged to stay indoors as Storm Dara is wreaking havoc across the UK. A rare risk-to-life red warning was issued this morning for gusts of up to 90 miles an hour as they batter parts of Wales and southwest England. Well, that red warning has now expired in just the last few minutes, but the damage is continuing as yellow and now amber warnings for wind and rain remain in effect. Travel is also being severely disrupted, with roads blocked and trains suspended after trees were torn down by the high winds. Over 30,000 homes are without power, and crews are working to restore supplies, though there's no word yet on when power will be back up and running. Well, our reporter Sophie Reaper is out in the northwest of the country for us this morning, and she says there are big concerns for that amber rain alert, which is still spreading through the country.
Well, here in the northwest, what Storm Dara means for us is that we've been forecast heavy rain and wind gusts of around 70 to 80 miles per hour in certain places. And as a result, the Met Office has issued that amber weather alert for wind. That came into place around 1 o'clock this morning and will remain in place now until around 9 o'clock tonight. So the advice today is to avoid travel where you can, stay indoors where possible, and ultimately just stay safe.
Sophie Reaper there for us in the northwest. While the centre of the storm is now clearing into the North Sea, but that doesn't mean that conditions are going to improve a great deal anytime soon. Passengers at some of the UK's biggest airports have described terrifying descents this morning and some harrowing landings as air traffic restrictions remain in place. In Scotland, our reporter Tony Maguire is at Glasgow Airport for us.
As Storm Dara continues to wreak havoc across the country, Scotland has made it through Friday night relatively unscathed. The Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, SEPA, well, they've got flood warnings for essentially all parts of the country, but only 2 have been escalated to flood alerts, and that is in Tayside as well as South Ayrshire. That amber warning that stretches across the northwest of England, well, that also leaks into Dumfries and Galloway, with residents there told to stay inside until the bad weather dies off.
Well, the latest breaking development on that weather news. The Liverpool Christmas market has just been closed as a result of the weather conditions. Organisers there saying it has been shut to ensure public safety and the safety of traders and visitors to that market, adding that they apologise for any inconvenience at this festive time, saying that safety is their #1 priority. But I must just bring you this line that I've noticed as well. One man speaking to local radio in Somerset saying, "You certainly know it's windy when you're overtaken on the M5 by a crisp packet, would you believe?" There you go. Bet that's never happened to you. Let's turn, though, to Paris, where Prince William is set to meet Donald Trump in Paris ahead of Notre Dame Cathedral's grand reopening ceremony. The Prince of Wales will discuss the UK-US special relationship with the President-elect and meet outgoing First Lady Jill Biden today. The ceremony, being hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron, features the opening of the cathedral's huge doors and the reawakening of its organ and the first Mass since its restoration. It's William's first visit to Paris since 2017, following his trip there after the Brexit referendum. And the countdown to Christmas is officially on this weekend. According to a new survey, today, the 7th of December, is the UK's most popular day for putting up the Christmas tree, with nearly a third of households decking the halls today. The 2nd and the 3rd Saturdays in December aren't far behind, but some eager decorators got a head start in November. And then there are those of you who are bargain hunting, waiting until Christmas Eve to snap up the heavily discounted trees. That's it from me, Ben, Ellie. I'm wondering whether you're ahead of the game or leaving it till the last minute to get your trees set up.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Dara continues to bring some very disruptive and perhaps damaging weather in places as we head through the rest of Saturday and into the start of Sunday. It continues to sink its way south and eastwards through the rest of the day, but it's on this western flank that we'll see those strongest winds with a real squeeze in those isobars through the rest of today. We've got amber, wind and rain warnings in force across western areas. We could see gusts here of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 miles an hour at the coast, and also some heavy rain too across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales, so we could see some localised flooding in places. Temperatures will be round about average for the time of year, but with that very brisk northerly wind, it'll be feeling much colder than those temperatures are stating. As we then go into Saturday evening, the outbreaks of heavy rain do continue. Across parts of Scotland, we could see this rain turning to sleet and snow, particularly over any high ground, and across eastern areas it could be quite persistent in places. Across Northern Ireland, a little bit brighter to end the day, some clear spells overnight, although still some blustery showers pushing in from the north. Across much of England and Wales, though, a cloudy end to the day, plenty of outbreaks of rain around, particularly across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales too. Through the rest of Saturday evening, continuing to see those strong winds across western areas, although them just down a touch compared to what we saw on Saturday morning, but continuing to see outbreaks of heavy rain across eastern parts of England, so adding to some localised flooding in places here. Temperatures overnight will be a little bit above average, staying above zero with those brisk northerly winds, but it will be feeling really chilly to start the day on Sunday morning, particularly where you're exposed to that northerly wind. A damp start to the day across eastern parts of England, outbreaks of rain continuing to push their way south and eastwards, although perhaps becoming persistent at times. But across western parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, those winds really starting to ease down, and we might even see some sunshine through the afternoon, so feeling a bit more pleasant here. Temperatures will still be around average for the time of year, but it will be feeling really quite chilly under that cloud in that northerly wind.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 11:40. Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Now, Christmas can be at times tricky for families for a whole host of reasons, but perhaps some of the biggest arguments come from deciding which traditions to follow.
Absolutely, yes. Well, one family, though, is on a mission to open up the conversation about different cultures and different Christmas traditions with the aim of helping other families have a calmer and more stress-free festive period. It's a very good idea.
Yeah, sounds appealing. Bit of zen at Christmas. Well, joining us now to share their tips are family podcasters Ivana and Yao Poku. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. You come all the way from Scotland this morning.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully you get back because the weather is looking a little bit tricky outside.
So, Ivana, you are Slovakian, aren't you? And Yao, you are British Ghanaian.
That's right.
So I imagine you have very different cultural traditions when it comes to Christmas. Ivana, what's it like in Slovakia around Christmas?
So we celebrate Christmas on the 24th.
Oh.
And we eat fish, potato salad, and we exchange presents or give presents after the dinner.
Really?
So that's very
all on the 24th?
Yes.
And
yes.
so what do you do Christmas Day? Or on the 25th?
Yeah.
Is that kind of your Boxing Day?
No. Back home, nothing. We just eat and chill.
Come on then, Yao, what's your cultural traditions?
So if you can hear the voice and things, I'm from sunny London.
Yeah.
My background is obviously Ghanaian, but I've grown up in London, I've grown up in England, and I've got the British tradition and things. There are certain aspects of the Ghanaian culture, certain kind of food types and things that you may have on our side that you may not necessarily kind of have on a normal kind of roast or, normal kind of dinner and things.
So how do you decide in your household when to open presents, for example? I mean, do you get your way, Ivana, and do it on Christmas Eve, or how does it work?
So we have 3 children, and the first few years I was very determined to have a full-on Slovakian Christmas on the 24th and then British Christmas on the 25th. But that didn't work out. I was burnt out. No one enjoyed anything. So now what we do is to have small Christmas, Slovakian Christmas on the 24th. I don't go full on anymore. It's not worth it. So we listen to Slovakian songs, watch Slovakian stories, and then on the 25th, the kids open the proper presents, the real presents in the morning.
Oh, that's
and
so
then
lovely.
Yao is happy with any meat. So as long as he has his turkey, he's happy. So, you cook usually.
Yao, how did you work together to blend the traditions and come up with that sort of flow for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? Did it take a few years to get it just right?
Yeah, because, like you said, you wanted to kind of have something where it was a bit, you know, to show me, to show the kids and stuff, their Slovakian kind of culture. So you went in with the, you know, the dinner. Yeah, and it was just like, it was full on and things, right? So by kind of cutting back, what we sometimes do is we have to kind of, well, we not have to, because we love our families and things, because sometimes we will go maybe to like my sisters or my brothers or something, and it's massive.
Or back home, not Slovakia.
Yeah, and it's massive, yeah.
So have you guys got any top tips for kind of soothing relations at Christmas, even from, you know, traditions or choosing which movie you want to watch? There's always, I guess, a clash of what people want to do or even, you know, what to have for dinner, I guess. Any top tips for making sure family relations all go smoothly?
Just say yes to your wife.
I was literally going to say that. I was going to say Alaska. Alaska is like, yes, love.
I love Home Alone. I know, but I just love it.
Oh, that's a lovely
We always
Christmas
have to watch that, and Slovakian movies, I insist on that because it's very important to me. But, yeah, anything, like, yeah.
But we've kind of got it where we've got that blend. We've got the kind of distinction between the Slovakian and the British side of things. So you've got the kind of, we can go full on the one day, not too hectic with the preparation and stuff with everything, but on the other side...
the boys decorate the tree, so it's easier on that.
Yeah. Your family are beautiful. Ivana and Yao, really good to meet you both. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your Christmas tips.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
OK, well, sticking with the Christmas theme, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we're hearing from church ministers all across the country. I absolutely love this. I know you guys at home love this as well. Each day they have a special message for you to celebrate the festive season. Here's the one for today.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 7.
I'm Reverend Mike Millen, and a very warm welcome to St Leonard's Church in Denton, where I'm priest in charge. The great bishop theologian St Augustine once asked himself what the most important virtue was in the Christian life. His answer? The first is humility. The second is humility. And the third, yes, you guessed it, is humility. Humility is not weakness. Humility is not becoming a doormat for others. Humility is the strength to willingly stoop. It's the strength to willingly say no to myself in order to lift others up. Humility, therefore, is a virtue that is right at the heart of the Christmas story. Perhaps over the season you'll sing along with me, He came down to earth from heaven, who is God and Lord of all, and His shelter was a stable, and His cradle was a stall. Do you see what that means? The eternal God, who is high over all, stoops to the lowest place in order to lift us to the heights of heaven. To follow the Christ of Christmas means to willingly take the lower place for the sake of those we love.
I'm really enjoying those messages.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
I love them. And I said on Monday, even if I'm not particularly religious, but I'm a cultural Christian where you can take the values and the lessons from Christianity, you know, just be a good person. And I'm really appreciating those messages.
Yeah, and I know you all are as well, so we're going to keep them coming throughout December. And if you do want to catch up on the previous Advent messages, because they have been truly special, you can go to gbnews.com/Advent. OK, still to come, we're joined by former I'm a Celeb star Pat Sharp ahead of the final tomorrow, and Steph Tetchy will be here with your Showbiz selection. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
After the Hollywood ending that Wrexham Football Club have got, can Chorley FC benefit from a bit of the old celebrity magic dust?
I can't see why not. The guys have been down a few times now, and when they do come down, obviously they're bringing that with them. a little town like Chorley doesn't see much of the charts and big stars. So it's really nice to see them, and we always welcome them when they do come down.
And Mark, give us a flavour of the level of football. I understand you're in the National League North, right? That's 6 rungs down from the top flight. I mean, you're only just down the road from Manchester City, right? But I mean, give us a flavour of the 2 different worlds between your club and Man City.
Our players are all part-timers. So we've got kind of fitness coaches, we've got teachers, we've got all kinds of players who have full-time jobs alongside playing. Our average crowd is probably a tenth of what you get at Man City, probably even less than that. We get about 1,500 on a home game. The thing is, we know where we are and we understand where we are, and we are a real community club. Tonight, I'm ready now. I'm off to Marine, so off over to Merseyside. Playing the likes of Liverpool and Everton over on Merseyside would be kind of a dream come true. But we know where we are. We would just love to get to the Football League. So teams like Salford, Stockport County were in our division a couple of years ago, all flying now in the Football League. We just want to do the same. We sat down with the board last year and they told us the vision for the future, and that vision most definitely is that we want to be a Football League club. When we went to the Premier League, I know the boys have been saying that 30 years we'll be in the Premier League and winning it. Well, let's hope we are, and let's hope I'm still around to see that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, can you believe it's been a year already since Nigel Farage was in the jungle down under?
And you were down under.
I was there. I had lots of fun, but we've got through yet another series. The big final is tomorrow night, and we're joined now by contestant of the 2011 series, Pat Sharp, to get the lowdown. Pat, good morning. Big night tomorrow. It's the final. First questions first. Who's going to win? Who's your money on?
Well, good morning, Ben and Ellie. I would say without a doubt it's going to be Danny, and let me tell you why. It's really simple. The pop star always gets the most votes, always, without fail. Because if you look back, the year I did it, as you say, 2011, lucky enough to do it, and very few people have done it. It's a great thing to do. Dougie wins it from McFly. Then 2020, technically, another McFly, almost, Tom's wife, Giovanna, she wins it. And I think that was the year it was in Wales, and Danny's now going to win it, which means it's basically only Harry and Tom who haven't won it, so it's got to be Danny.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, isn't there, Pat? Because his bandmates have done very, very well over the years. What was the experience like for you in 2011? Because you did so well with the trials that you were faced with, but you actually loved the experience, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It's amazing, Ellie. It really is. It's a party that you get invited to, and you look around, and there's 250 people who've gone to that party, and yeah, it's got to be quite a big room for that. But over 21 or something, maybe more now, 23 years or something since Tony Blackburn won the first one, it really is a small club to be in, this party, and you do feel privileged to do it. So when someone says, or Ant and Dex say, obviously, go in, get yourself mucky, and do this. You do it, because otherwise, why be on the show? There has been an awful lot of screaming this year with not just the girls, the guys are doing it as well. Everybody's doing it. And I think Ant and Deck was screaming as well, watching the people screaming, because some of it was just, and I think that's cool. But I have to say, when I did my stuff, although it was difficult, I did embrace it, because otherwise, why go on the show?
Yeah, exactly. Pat, thank you. You're a legend. Appreciate you being with us this morning. And, can't wait for tomorrow night. We're joined now by Showbiz juggernaut Steph Tetchy for the rest of your Showbiz selection. Steph, love your hair, by the way.
Thank you so much. Purple Rain, thank you. Contrary to Pat, actually, I do think it's going to be Colleen. I think it's time for a queen of the jungle, actually. I think she's warmed the nation's hearts. She's just been steady all throughout. And I think there is, I hate to say it, but I think there will be that sympathy vote for her. All that she went through with the Wagger for Christmas twisty drama. I think the public have been fully behind Colleen Rooney, so I think she will be crowned Queen.
I'm with you on this, Steph. We agree on lots of things. We agree on this one as well. And when she met her children last night,
oh my
really emotional.
gosh, it was long overdue.
Definitely.
I can imagine as a mum, it's quite hard.
Look, we stay with the theme of ITV. We've only got a minute, but Gino D'Acampo, what's going on?
Apparently, he's been sidelined by ITV because he's failed to sign a morality clause in his contract. We're all talking about morals now. Following that KC review last year, following the whole Philip Schofield scandal, ITV expect their presenters to adhere to a certain set of behavioural standards. And apparently, Gino has refused to do that. And there's a lot of allegations coming out of inappropriate behaviour. He has not commented yet, but ITV said they are committed to this outcome of the Casey review and ensuring that their on-screen talent sticks to such things.
Yeah, they said, we're committed to making sure everyone's treated with respect and feels able to give their best. Following the review, we reiterated our expectations and introduced conduct and standards guidelines for on-screen personalities. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Steph. Short and sweet.
No worries. Thanks for having me
being
on.
with us.
Thank you so much, Steph, and really looking forward to that final tomorrow night. Thank you so much for your company today. We are back, same place, same time, next week.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Dara continues to bring some very disruptive and perhaps damaging weather in places as we head through the rest of Saturday and into the start of Sunday. It continues to sink its way south and eastwards through the rest of the day, but it's on this western flank that we'll see those strongest winds with a real squeeze in those isobars through the rest of today. We've got amber, wind and rain warnings in force across western areas. We could see gusts here of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 miles an hour at the coast, and also some heavy rain too across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales, so we could see some localised flooding in places. Temperatures will be round about average for the time of year, but with that very brisk northerly wind, it'll be feeling much colder than those temperatures are stating. As we then go into Saturday evening, the outbreaks of heavy rain do continue. Across parts of Scotland, we could see this rain turning to sleet and snow, particularly over any high ground, and across eastern areas it could be quite persistent in places. Across Northern Ireland, a little bit brighter to end the day, some clear spells overnight, although still some blustery showers pushing in from the north. Across much of England and Wales, though, a cloudy end to the day, plenty of outbreaks of rain around, particularly across northern and eastern parts of England and southern parts of Wales too.